Robert Sullivan here, coming at you from lovely Pensacola Beach, Florida. Today we're going to talk about a subject that has a huge impact on the profitability of your company. And when I say huge, I mean significant. I mean it can be significant in a positive way, it can be significant in a negative way, but the subject we're going to be discussing has a huge impact on the profitability of your company. And ironically, only a handful of carriers in the country understand it at the depth that we're going to be looking at today. And only a handful of carriers in the country have the system, the tool that will allow them to manage and leverage this operation to have a positive impact on their organization, the profitability of their organization. And the subject we're going to be talking about is pickup and delivery, your P&D operation. From a variable cost standpoint, you have three buckets that comprise probably 95% of the total variable cost in your company, and those three buckets would be line haul, dock, and P&D. Now, line haul, you don't have a lot of control over that if you're a regional carrier, because you've got to run those trailers whether they have 10 bills on them or 15 bills on them, because you have service commitments you have to keep. The dock bucket's your smallest cost bucket, probably 6 to 8 cents out of every revenue dollar goes into that bucket, and even though you have control over it, the impact that you can gain from that is really not that significant. But the one that really can have an impact, significant impact on the profitability, is your P&D operation. We have control over that, a lot of control over that P&D operation on a day-to-day basis. We determine what time our drivers come to work. We determine how much work we're going to give the drivers for the day. We determine how well we manage those drivers once they're on the street in their pickup and delivery operation. We determine how fast we get them back into the terminal at the end of the day. So we have a lot of control over our P&D operation, and it's a huge leverage point from a profitability standpoint. So what we're going to do today, we're going to look at some visuals here. We're going to look at two terminals that are on the system. There's two different companies, and there's two terminals that operate in the same metropolitan area. They compete against each other every day. They go head to head. They cover the same geographic territory every day. So we're going to call it Company A and Company B, and we're going to look at a terminal within Company A and a terminal within Company B at their P&D operation. So as you can see from the slide here over my shoulder, Company B, their driver's wage and fringe cost per hour is $22.32. You move over to Company A, their wage and fringe cost per hour for their drivers is $25.06. If you look at the variable cost per mile for putting that P&D unit on the street, Company B, their cost per mile is 99 cents. Company A, their cost per mile is going to be $1.05 if you round up. So Company B, their drivers on the street 9 hours a day. Company A, their drivers are on the street 9.1 hours a day. So 6 minutes difference per day between their drivers that are on the street picking up and delivering freight. Miles per trip, Company B averages 143 miles per trip. Company A averages 134 miles per trip. And we'll talk about that in a little more detail in a moment. So when you do the math, Company B, every time a driver goes through the gate in a P&D operation for Company B, it's costing the company $342.89. Every time Company A's drivers go through the gate, on average, it's costing the Company A $368.31. So looking at the numbers, you would say that Company A is the high-cost carrier in that market. But let's see if that holds true. In the world of TPG, we use a term called workload or productive work. And that is the hours of work that a driver has on his route that day, or the time he spends on a customer's dock loading and unloading freight. In TPG, we go into the company and we go to every terminal. We have every terminal. We create a set of engineered time allowances for their P&D operation based on where they operate, the number of drivers, and a host of other measurements that we include in that calculation. And it gives a calculated time for that driver to make the stop, to handle the paperwork, the number of handling units, and the weight of an individual shipment. So it tells us how long it should take that driver to load or unload that shipment on the customer's dock. So it'll roll up all that driver's work for the day, pickup work and delivery work, and it'll give us a term called productive work or work hours. And as you can see, in Company B, their drivers have 3.7 hours of productive work on their truck. So they have 3.7 of their 9 hours a day on the customer's dock picking up and delivering freight. The difference between those two is the pre and post trip inspection for the driver and driving the 143 miles that he has to drive. So company A, you can see their drivers are spending 4.22 hours of their 9.1 hours a day in front of the customer loading and unloading freight. So in the terms of TPG, we say that company A's drivers, their drivers spending a higher percent of their day on the customer's dock loading and unloading freight, while company B, they are not. They don't have the percent, they have a lower percent of their day in front of the customer picking up and delivering freight. So let's profile a typical P&D trip for each one of these carriers. If you look at company B, their drivers are averaging 11 stops a trip. Company A, 16 stops a trip, and then you can see the shipments, you can see the difference in the handling units, and you can see the difference in the weight. So that's why Company A's drivers, that they have more productive work, more work to perform in their 9.1 hours a day than Company B does in their 9 hours a day. So what does that roll up to? What does that mean? So we know Company A is the high cost carrier with a cost per trip of $368.31. But let's see if that holds true. On the next slide, you can see if we do simple math, every time company B picks up or delivers a shipment, it's costing them $26.37. Every time company A picks up and delivers a shipment, $16.01. Who's the high cost carrier now? Yeah. Makes a huge difference between the two. And as you can see on the bottom line, from an operating ratio standpoint, Company B, they stay right around break even. They don't embrace it at the level Company A does, so they wallow around a 100. But Company A, with the discipline they have in place, and it's not all P&D, but it's a huge impact, they operate around a 91 pretty consistently. So in terms of the marketplace, Company B cannot compete with Company A from a pricing standpoint because Company A is much more efficient. They're the low-cost provider in the markets that they serve. And metaphorically speaking, Company A has disciplined their managers and supervisors to the point that when you put the key in the door every morning and open that terminal up, you're going to make the personal commitment to yourself that you're going to have the most efficient P&D operation of anyone you compete against, because they do understand the significant impact that P&D productivity, P&D utilization has on the profitability of their company. Oh, and one last thing that I've told you, I'd go back to the miles per trip. The reason Company A has a miles per trip lower than Company B at 134 miles per trip is because they've created more density with the work they have to perform. So therefore their miles between stops is going to be less than Company B because they're more efficient. So your P&D operation, folks, very important. It has a significant impact on the profitability of your company. And your TPG system gives you the ability to manage that P&D operation with the passion on a day-to-day basis to move yourself into that same position. Okay, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you taking time. And if you have any questions or would like to talk with me about it, just pick up the phone, give me a call, or shoot me an email, and I'll get back with you. And again, thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks a lot.